Yes, welcome back. We're still in the studios with Dr. Ezekwesili, and it's a pleasure to have you here because you started the campaign, the word became viral, and you became identified with this, and you also became vilified for it, remember? Up until today, people wonder, what is her own? First, it was that you were looking for a position. Now, I don't know what it is they're saying, because you ended up not getting the position. So why are you doing this?
I don't even dignify that the last portion of what you said.
About position, yeah.
Please, I'm trying to get a position of something that I had done more than a decade ago. Come on, how does that make sense to anyone? I mean, it's too silly to be an issue. You see, when we did the social media advocacy for Chibok girls, from that 23rd, when that hashtag Bring Back Our Girls became prevalent in the social media space, nothing. Still, the government didn't respond or react in any way. It took a march on the 30th of April, inspired by Hadiza Bala Usman, who sort of had reached out to quite a number of people and said, starting with Miriam Ways, saying, it was necessary for there to be a physical march for our Chibok girls, because that way, the people will know that, these are real people. And so I was part of the co-conveners of that march of the 30th of April. And by default, the leadership of that march fell on me. And many other cities, Lagos, Osogbo, Benin, many cities, Kano, and then New York, DC, London, various groups said, we also will march in solidarity with these girls. And so we did that march. And at the end of that march of that day, it rained cats and dogs when we marched from the Unity Fountain to the National Assembly and insisted on speaking to the leadership of the National Assembly, who couldn't help it, but they came out, and they also were soaked in the rain. And we had that meeting, and they promised that they were going to take up the matter with the then president. Then we marched back to the Unity Fountain, and I said to the audience, we've got a couple of options before us. We can say, we have gone to the National Assembly. They have promised that they would take this up with the president, would disperse, and then whatever information they would bring back, we would be able to send publicly to everyone. Or we could say, we're not going to disperse. We're going to come back until we would actually see that some action is being taken. Because what we want is the action that has been missing in all of this. There's not been a response to the tragedy. And not even information on the tragedy from the government. And so when the crowd, I gave them those two options, and they went for option 2. We would come. Persist until something would happen. And I said to them, I hope you understand what that means. What that means is that every day you would have to give off some hours of your day to this matter. And they said, yes. And I thought to myself, oh my God. And that was what began to happen. And today we speak on the 916 of daily advocacy following that 30th of April march. 916 days, but 931 days of the abduction of our Chibok girls. Now, why is that so? That is so, answering your question on having been vilified and all of that. The reason that I have persisted is that in my training, I'm supposed to be able to swear to my own hurt. It's simple. I made a promise that we were not going to stop until our Chibok girls were brought back and alive. That promise was not made in the spur of the moment. What had happened was that on that day when we got back to that Unity Fountain and the people said we were going to persist until action was taken on them, and I agreed to it, one of the leaders of our Chibok community in this city of Abuja, actually the chair, Sambido, Hosea Sambido, went on his knees in the rain and said, Ma, promise me you will not stop asking them to bring back our daughters until our girls are back.
Do you know,
I promised.
And you're keeping your promise?
I promised.
But do you know that people doubt or doubted, even still doubt, that those girls were actually missing? Some people doubted.
You know, at this particular stage, Adesua, I concluded that anyone who holds on to that doubt would hold on to it because they choose to. They could easily find the parents whose daughters have been missing. And I look at it from the perspective that it is the worst kind of inhumanity for you to be in the comfort of your own family life with your daughters and to judge parents whose children went to school and were taken, and to look at them and imagine that they are acting a script. It's unbelievable.
Can I give you some of the reasons people give? How is it that about 200 girls were sitting for an exam in a school where we know enrollment of girls in school is very low?
Well, which means that people haven't even bothered to just do basic knowledge, just basic fact finding. Do you know that the government under which these girls were abducted has instituted a presidential verification team concerning our Chibok girls, the Brigadier Sabo Committee, and that they presented a report that was accepted by that government? It was that report that organized the data concerning the girls, that 276 girls were actually abducted. And the reason that you had that number was that it was not just that school fielding candidates for exams, that it was an amalgam of children from many other local governments, but all of them stationed in that school because that was where they considered to have relative peace to be able to have an exam. Remember that schools were already closed, all closed in Borno State, but that they said they guaranteed a semblance of safety and security. And so all of the people taking school start in the districts around that particular part of Borno State were put together to take the exam. So these were not just all classmates from one school. So if you had read the report, and I recommend that people should read the report, and I actually think that the injustice that's been done is in not publishing that report. But the summary of the presentation of that committee by the previous government under which those girls were abducted showed clearly that there are girls who went to school to take their exams and they never went back home. And that these girls are not some phantom, story, because there are parents, their mothers, their daughters, their mothers and their moms, and their fathers and their siblings. There are their cousins, their uncles, who are saying, where are our daughters? Where are our nieces? Where are our siblings? Can it possibly be? One of the things that I have said to people who are cynical about all of this is, let us even, for the sake of academic contest, say, okay, maybe you do have a point here. You have reason to doubt, the abduction. Whew. Are you saying that these girls sat down and said, come and carry us? Yes, we are part of whatever people insinuate could have happened. Did innocent young women who went to school to get an education, did they also say, we're available for your plot? Take us. How can a society, the rest of the world, shocked that we even have that conversation, that there are people amongst us who continue to say Chibok girls is a scam. The rest of the world, they look at us in amazement.
If the rest of the world doesn't doubt and we doubt, and we always doubt, what are the implications for the kind of people that we are and for our growth as a nation?
Well, it's indicative of the fact that we are yet a country, not a nation. A country is, just a group of people that find themselves within a territory. A nation is different. A nation is really a people who, though diverse, they are very diverse in terms of, their orientation, their religion, their ethnicity, their language, their ideologies, and every other thing. And yet, they have managed to forge shared identity, shared, that is the result of shared values, shared vision. So when things happen, they don't view things from the ethnic lenses, religious lenses, ideological lenses, political partisanship lenses. They simply know that any injury to one is an injury to all. So they immediately don't begin to think, oh, maybe there must be something behind all of this. They simply are people who dignify their own humanity. Therefore, it's easy for them to dignify the humanity of the
others. But I worry about that too. Would you then therefore be one of those who supports the restructuring of the country? The conversation on restructuring of the country is an important conversation. There are value-based issues to it, and then there are economic dimensions to it. There are political structure dimensions to it. In having that conversation, it has to be a conversation that is driven not by a desire to address the symptoms, but to say to ourselves, that we actually have become a society that lives in abnormality. We are a society where, good is now bad, bad is now good. We're a society that rewards bad behavior and therefore would consider good behavior not worthy of even acceptation. Because people are sort of saying, for what reason would this good behavior happen? We're more comfortable with bad behavior. So please let us figure a way to make this good behavior bad behavior. So what should the conversation be?
Fundamentally, the conversation really needs to be, do we want a new normal as a people? We need a new normal. We are in an abnormality. And you cannot build, you can't even create a decent structure on an abnormality. As a society, we need to get to the point where we're sort of saying to ourselves, okay, we failed for too long. It's not right that we have failed. Because when we accept that failure, when we take ownership of our failures, what would happen is that we would ask ourselves the most uncomfortable questions. And in the process of asking ourselves the most uncomfortable questions, we would arrive at the conclusion that it's really about the fact that we accepted abnormality for many reasons that may be genuine. But these are abnormalities. Abnormality is to say that when you go to serve the public, it's actually not service. You are entitled to a good life. That's an abnormality. No society, no dynamic society that we all cherish, that we will seek to identify ourselves with, grew on the path of abnormality. We must say that these things are totally shockingly
Can we
abnormal.
achieve that? I worry.
What's going to happen is we're going to be faced with it. I did a recent tweet, and I had a number of people who actually spoke to me about it. I said, there will come a day when we would just look at ourselves in the eyes and say, this our definition of achievement from a distorted perspective is enough. We don't need to say what to anyone anymore. The girls are back. They are with her. Did you see the mother carrying a big child on her back? That's what it takes. Humanity. If even you couldn't identify with the cries of that mother, seeing her put that child on her back
I was flabbergasted.
It was worth it.
Do you think we'll get the rest back though?
I totally believe that every of our Chibok girls has a chance for a new life.
Thank you very much, Ma, for being my
Thank
guest.
you.
I appreciate it. I wish I could do 10 hours with you. But there will be other opportunities.
Thank you.